Okay, so what we have here is an Epiphone ES339, and this is a beautiful looking thing. I love the tone of this thing. Anyway, it's a little thing, small, pretty blonde colour, interesting sort of changing colour on the neck, which seems a bit odd, but it's okay. Old strings need replacing, needs a bit of a clean up, lower the action a little bit. Everything seems to play. Frets looking like they started out fairly flat. I think they're flat, kind of flat, fairly flat profile. It's not too much wear on them. Yeah, lovely thing, like it. Much better break angle going on here. It will come down a little bit as we take the action down fraction. But just out of interest, what have we got here to start off with? We've got about 2.5 actually. It's quite high. Let's see what happens when we dial it in a bit. Go to 1 point, just over 1.5 there, and just under 1.5 there. Let's take that in a fraction too. See what happens. Well, obviously we go out of tune. Sorry about that sharp noise. Okay. Right, a couple of notes up there. And now I've chosen action, a nice low action, a couple of notes that are dodgy and a bit high down over some of the one or two of the strings. Not too bad down here, but yeah, it's just that. Where's he gone? Those two there, really. Apart from that, it's really good. Surprised. But to get it perfect at this action, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be, I'm going to stop for a second and get something to eat, but just having a quick whiz through at that, apart from those two notes there, which means a fret or two that's uneven right there, all in all, that's pretty excellent. So should scrub up very, very well this one. So hopefully, sorry about that, I'm just going to put the amp away for the time being, and we'll all get lined up. Ready for this one. So looking at everything, I think we can keep the same net, thankfully. I don't think it needs changing. I'll have a closer look at the actions. It can stay the same as long as it works okay. It's not the best quality thing in the world, but we'll check. We've got the action set there. We'll check the neck relief. Wow, which says none. Actually, you know what? Given there's no relief there, that might actually, we might actually fix that choking fret without. Wow, that will be something. Without fret leveling. Just have a quick look. So I'm just capoing the end there. There's no relief in that neck at all. There's a tiny bit there on this side. I'd say almost none there. We probably need a bit more. So first look at that means we could, with a tweak of that, we might well sort that out, which would be great for Luke and quicker for me, because that would save him a little bit of money. Now what's happened to, no, that's not Philip's head. I had a Philip's head knocking around here and it's gone. Okay, we'll find another one. Yeah, so yes, good thing is then we might get it to play without doing any fret leveling, but who knows. Let's make sure we get the right. Oh, got to go and take that. See you in a sec. Okay, so action set down this end, a couple of dodgy frets in there. Got a set of files, not files set out for roughly a 10 set, and I'm going to work outwards. Now I'm not sure what material this is. I think it's a sort of, well, it's plastic, but exactly what kind of plastic I don't know. We've got a 0.3 height here which we can work to, and it won't take much. This is very close to the mark, this one, and we'll just see how well it cuts. It's not my favourite kind of material, this, but you know, as long as it works, we don't want to disturb it any more than we have to. Nearly there. Going for 0.3 all the way across. Very close. Very close. stop on that. So we should, fret leveling, just get rid of that choked notes, or those choked notes in the middle there. It shouldn't need much. And hopefully it'll play very nicely. It's a nice guitar to begin with, so it's interesting how much nicer it felt to play straight away than the Harley Benton. Not quite sure exactly why. I'm not 100% happy with the nut on the Harley Benton, so I may revisit that tomorrow. First thing, before I do the Chapman. I decided when I got back from honeymoon that I'd enjoyed having the little oak caster so much that I wanted to carry on and make some more, because I really like its little shape and I liked how handy it was to have on holiday. And just the fact that it takes apart quite simply into two pieces makes a really good luggage sized guitar. I have no problems transporting it in any way. Okay, on the mark. So I decided to make some more, and actually what I liked is the fact that I've stuck to the same design. Yeah, I like sticking to the same design. That's something quite good about that, because it gives you time to perfect the design you've chosen. So it seems a simple thing to do, to keep the design the same and learn how to make it better each time. One of the things is obviously learning to use the router, which has been quite a challenge because it's such a aggressive tool if you've not used one before. I know quite a few people who've been similarly nervous to get going with it, so I finally got the courage up and used it to do a neck pocket, and it was so much better than carving it by hand, even though carving it with a chisel is very satisfying. I need to make it a lot easier. I'd much rather spend the time sculpting the shape of it than cutting things out. You know, like getting the contours and the sort of the physicality of the guitar is much more fun to do than struggle with cutting out the basics like pickup routing. So I decided that I'm going to keep working on that same design until I've got a really efficient set of templates. and I can make one from start to finish using templates. It takes a while to get down to the level of this. Okay, we're just on the mark there. Going to have another go at the A. Not quite on the mark. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing more of those O keys. I've got a couple on the go, but neither of them have been done from scratch with the router, so I've still got that to do, and I think I need to kind of rethink the whole making process to make sure I can do it, not production line exactly, but make sure I can do it more simply and effectively. I think it's nice to take the uncertainty out of it. You know, when you use the router, you take the uncertainty out of that part, you know, the precision part of it, where you've got to get the neck pocket right and you can't afford to mess around. So it's nice to be able to automate that, if you like. So I'm looking forward to creating a template, but I've got to. I'm not going to use MDF. It's too, as far as I can see, it's too woolly a material. I want something harder to make the long-lasting templates out of. My God, that's right on the mark anyway. No adjustment there. As good as, damn it. That's on the mark too. Okay. Right, we've got a bit of work to do now. Okay, that's good. We got what I wanted. It got the action I wanted out of that nut, so didn't need to replace it. That's a good thing. It's a nice brittle plastic. It's not bone, but it's solid and does the job well enough. Okay, so what do we do next? Now, next is the fret leveling part. So we've got our action set down here. We've got the relief in the neck, which is very slight. It's more on the treble side. Don't quite know how that works, but not an awful lot. Let's just double check this. Yeah, there's some on that side, but very little. It feels less on that side, but there is some. I'm going to work with that. So it's down with the old fret leveling stuff. Oh, and of course I've got to mark up the frets first. So here we go. This nut doesn't really suit the guitar anyway. In some ways, it's could really use a much more of a cream coloured thing. It's a bit white, but it'll do. Okay, so while I'm at it, I'm just going to paint all the frets ready for fret leveling, so I know what's happening. Now these are quite low profile frets, so I can be very careful not to take any more, and that's why the truss rod method, as I explained in the last video, is a very good method for this, because it will, by default, it takes off only as much as you absolutely need to make the action you've chosen play, which when you have a guitar with frets like this, which are a mixture of worn and flat to begin with, I think, then you don't want to be lowering them radically by aiming for some arbitrary 100% level, which you don't need. If you aim for complete 100% level using a flat neck, in a way that's great, but it's more levelness than you actually technically need. You need relatively less to get the action you want playing. Okay, so I'm going to use my 3 little feet to calibrate the tool, and I never quite get the spacing right, so let's see where we go. Nearly right, that'll do. So having spaced it, I'm going to mark up using tape because it saves me struggling to find that point again. This will speed things up a little bit. So I'm hoping with this guitar is once we do this little bit of fret leveling, I'm hoping it's minor, then I'm hoping it will free up, it should free up those choke notes in the middle, and then we should be able to polish it all up. Once it's polished up, clean the whole guitar up, clean the bridge and the tailpiece here is a bit mucky, and I'm going to probably put some little rubber bits in here to stop the rattling, the Tune-o-matic bridge rattling. I didn't hear it rattling on the SG, the Harley Benton SG, but it's clearly Luke's packed it out with some stuff already, because it's, I think it's little cocktail sticks, because it's obviously rattled before, but we can put some rubber in there. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tune the thing, whatever this is called, truss rod. So I'm going to tune the truss rod to this curvature of this neck. Now at the moment it's starting off looking like it's very, very flat, the neck. Okay, but it does have a tiny bit of a curve in, that's what matters. So I'm making very, very tiny adjustments to calibrate it, so it's still not there yet. So anything away from the horizontal is good, because we know we've got a little bit of relief, and it's not much, but it's enough to work with. I still haven't reached it yet. Knowing how to calibrate this is, as I mentioned in the last video, it's very much a matter of feel and experience, but it's not hard to learn, and it makes complete sense once you do it for the first time. The truss rod adjuster is so sensitive, you only have to make the tiniest adjustments to get the calibration right, and there we are, we're on. Okay, so once I've calibrated it, I'm going to drop off the high E, spread the string out down the bottom and go straight on, and with power of gravity only, I'm going to do a little bit of leveling on the E track, and I'm going to just do a little bit, and then I'm going to stop and assess what we've got. And it's not surprising. Remember we had choke notes up here. We've got some cutting there, a little bit of cutting there, a little bit there, a little bit there, lots there, tiny little bits there, a tiny bit there. So we've got some high frets there at the top end, and we've got the one high fret there, which we know is a problem. It's what's caused the choked notes already. So it's telling me that we've got the calibration of the tool right, and we just need to let it do its work. It doesn't need a huge amount. We're doing 400 grit, so it's very fine fret leveling, and I'm concentrating on the track that the E string sits in. Obviously that's the one we've got to get right, but it's also got to work either side of it, so the string doesn't just live in one tiny little straight line. It obviously moves backwards and forwards when we're playing it. Now a bit more working shows this is substantially the high fret here that's causing the choke, and there's a bit more at the top here. So first thing, and what's good about this method, is because it's strung, I can drop the string back in, hoist the guitar up. Sounding quite good. Don't think we need to do too much more. Now I can use the same calibration for the second track, and then we recalibrate for the G after that. So like I said, benefit of doing it this way is that you minimise the amount of material you take off to get your the action you've chosen to play well. I'm expecting this 11th fret, I think it is, to continue to present some problems as we go across the radius of the guitar from string to string, if you like. And lo and behold, it is still sitting quite a bit higher than everything else. And I can see it's taken lots off that one. So it was a problem, the 11th. So I'm just going to tiny bit more. And really that's what it's about. It's about calibrating the tool, letting gravity mostly do the work, and knowing knowing when to stop and recalibrate the tool if you're cutting, if the diagnostic shows you that you're not cutting the way you think, or if the marks of cutting tell you that the tool isn't tuned properly to the radius, then we stop and recalibrate it. And that's part of the thing that comes with experience, to know when it's telling you, giving you the indication that it's not calibrated. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one, but this time I'm going to calibrate again, so I'm going to use the same places. I'm going to calibrate slightly to the back side of the G. It's only a number of samples, so it's not 100% precise, but it's better than not doing it. Now there's a slight increase in the middle there on the radius, or the slight increase on the amount of relief. That's about right. Actually, it's just a millifraction too far. It's a microscopic amount, and that's too far the other way by an infinitesimal amount. So very delicate. Again, tiny fraction the wrong way again. It's so hard to do. There's no way of calibrating on, a dial on the side, or get a gauge. We are so close to it, but it's very, very difficult to get it exact. I'm sort of moving backwards and forwards between too much and too little. Still fractionally too much. Okay, good. It takes time, but let's do it. So spreading the strings, working in the G track, and just guiding it with my left hand, and letting the 400 grit do the work. And I can immediately, I can feel it's high over that 11th fret still, so it's going to cut more there than anywhere else to begin with. And that's what we'd expect it to, since we know that's high. Now, as you can see, that this is, whilst levelling the high spots, it's also obviously flattening them off, so we're going to need to reshape them in a minute. Tiny bit more, but it's cleared up that choked note, that's the first thing to say. So we've now got most of the way there. Now, if you were to look here, if you were here and you could see closely what we've got, you'll notice that there is not all of the frets have been touched even. For example, that one hasn't, so that's actually a low fret in the whole sequence, and this one's clearly a very high fret. So it just goes to show that even though we're stopping with some untouched frets, it means they're not 100% level. They're not 100% level, but they don't need to be. So we can afford to leave that residual unevenness in place. Now I'm going to calibrate again for the next slice, which will be the A slice. It was nearest, damn it. And we need to add a bit of curve this time. So small amount. Tiniest fraction over, but it will do. It's not so much. So again, spread the D string out the way, line it up, and fire away. I think it's great if you learn to do this. One of the things that's really satisfying is this tool shows up what you knew to be correct. So when I assessed this by just playing it, I found those 2 or 3 choke notes up there, and this high fret here. That sliced fret there confirms it visually. It sort of proves that the assessment was right. I'm just going to do a tiny fraction more here, almost there on this. Should be spot on. And it's also wonderful to actually hear any tiny imperfections go as you take that fraction of an inch off each time you level. So it's very, very rewarding to do. And it's a shame when somebody, as I mentioned in the previous video on the SG, when somebody who can't quite get their head around it with the best will in the world tells you that you're doing it wrong, and why don't you go back and do the proper way that everyone knows is the right way, i.e. leveling your neck, flattening your neck and doing it with the neck level. And I wish that those people could have a go at it this way, because it's infinitely more satisfying, I have to tell you. It's very validating, and it's very precise. And it really makes you feel like you're using your skill to make it better. And it's not just hit and miss. It might seem odd to somebody who's never done it this way before, but that's not a reason to dismiss it. Trust me, it's very well worth doing. Okay, and how much you do it for, well, that's a sort of matter of instinct, which you'll get. It's a matter of instinct, something that you'll get once you've done it a few times, and it's definitely not that hard. It does eventually, so it doesn't take long before you can judge it pretty well. Don't forget as well when you're leveling, because I'm going side to side, because I also need to level the whole of that fret so that we can bend the strings. I don't want any gaps. I need to be able to bend the strings and it to be level as we bend across to different parts of the radius. Okay, right, one more calibration and we're on the home stretch. Followed by a process of re-crowning the frets, so that's to round off the flat spots that we've now created on top in the process of levelling them. We'll need to re-crown them to turn them back into nice rounded arch shaped things, and then once we re-crown them or reshape them or reprofile them, lots of different ways of calling it, then we'll polish them up with a whole set of different grades of sandpaper until they're shined up, ready to play. And we'll clean up the guitar overall, and we'll set it back up with tins on it and intonate it and make sure it's playing nicely. So that uneven fret on number 11 kind of extended pretty much most of the way across, not all the way across the neck. That's good, I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's the fret leveling bit done. It's as simple and as miraculous as that. I'll take off the markers, oops, throw them on the floor. And then at this point now I can remove these strings, and the nice thing is whatever I want to do now, I can take the bridge off, I can do anything. What it means is that whenever I put the strings back on this guitar and load it up again, it's going to go back to the same setup that we've just had it at, which means we don't have to worry about it. I can put the bridge back on whenever I want, and as long as I set it back to 1.4 and 1.2 or whatever it was, very close, anything I like basically in that region, then it will reassume the position, because the strings will load the neck again and it will go back to, the frets will go back to where they were in relation to each other, and that's relatively level, as we know because we've just done it. There we go, get these off. I'm not going to keep this set of strings, I've got loads hanging around, so I sometimes keep them for sacrificial purposes, but I don't need to keep them for this, I've used them already. So they go in the bin. And so what am I going to do? My back's aching. I'm going to take, first of all, I'll put the bridge off and give it a good clean. It's a bit messy, and pull out those toothpicks that are holding that up. Just give everything a clean. It doesn't need a massive clean, but it needs a bit of one, so might as well do that all in one go. And then I'll prepare the frets for the next bit, the reprofiling part, and I'll do that and get on with the polishing out. So this is using naphtha or petroleum ether in this case, to just get rid of grime on the fingerboard. It does dry it out a bit as well, so next thing I'll do. That's interesting. There's still some slight grooves in there. That was a low fret. It's got some grooving, but it's not much. The fret leveling has sort of taken some of it off, but not all of it. So it's worth keeping an eye on as I polish it out with a sandpaper. It should smooth it out. It's very, very mild, but that's one of the things about fret leveling anyway, is that another advantage is it takes, while you're doing it, it gets rid of your wear and tear on the frets. So if you've got indentations, you usually will get most of that gone, or you can, if you've got serious indentations, you can keep going and decide to stop your leveling, if you like, when you've removed those. That's what's a problem on your guitar. In this case, it's quite mild or quite insubstantial, but it's there, and I think it's of a level now that I'm pretty sure that it'll come out in the final polish. It's interesting that it's mostly in this area here, so maybe it's kind of something to do with Luke's preferred playing style, whereabouts he plays on the fretboard on this guitar. So just giving this a bit of a clean up, pick up the shine a bit. Doesn't matter if I'm adjusting the posts here. I don't have to worry about keeping any particular marker or anything like that. I'll go back to where I was when I'm ready. When I come to put the strings back on, it'll be just a simple matter of dialing it in to the action we want without any trouble at all. The nice thing is we can be totally confident that we can get that action back without any problems. That's the nature of doing it this way around, which is pretty good. So then a nice clean up all over, including the backs of the tuners, which get a bit grubby over time, down the side of the headstock, and on the tuner knobs themselves. Just put it off to one side while I don't have it anymore. Lost my toothbrush, which actually came in handy for things like the bridge, for giving it a quick clean, but we can do it by hand. Tune-o-matic bridge is such a marvel of modern design, so good that you have to stick bits of rubber in it to stop it rattling when you're playing. Nice. So this one, they come with a clip. This one's got a little metal clip that's supposed to not only retain the little saddle screws, but presumably I think they thought it would stop it rattling as well, but in my experience it never does. You have to end up shoving something in there. So in this case I will revert to some rubber, which I've got. I don't know why this has got a mess on it. I wonder what's made that. Shake my toothbrush. Okay, I'll get there. Fine pliers to take out these toothpicks. Fine pliers, and guess what? It isn't going to work. Righty-ho. Take out the thing. So annoying. Out it comes. In fact, out all of them come. We'll just knock them all out for a second if we need to. out come the toothpicks. Now with these Tune-o-matic doofers, they so often end up having to be reversed because they don't allow enough intonation room, which is bleeding annoying. But you can't really know if that's going to be the case until you get there. And every time I stop and think about it and don't, then like now, chances are I'm going to regret it and wish I had. So who knows. So I'm just going to put these back in as was. If you take a bridge apart like this and you put it back together again, you can always go to its sort of default configuration, which is two groups of 3 saddles, and they stagger backwards from the E to the B to the G, and then from the D to the A to the E. And they sort of copy each other, but just in 2 slightly different positions. This one's actually changed over, so I'm going to just reset it. And then they start falling out when you don't want them to. God, it's a truly vile invention. I hate it so badly. Right. So this is currently set in the 2 patterns that by all accounts should give us intonation. Why they ever set one set of 3 facing the opposite way, there's no logical reason for it, and if anything it just causes problems, because it tends to be one of them that you have to turn around at some point. I seem to have done it loads of times on vintage V100s. Guitar that seems to demand I do it every time. Right, okay, so that's cleaned up, ready to go back on when we are. We'll put it off to one side. So next phase of this intrepid process, let's get the guitar back, put it back on here, and it could probably make sense with this, because it's a low profile fret. I'm going to slightly change my sequence. I'm going to mask off the neck now first before I do the fret crowning. The reason I'm doing that is that often I just go ahead and do the crowning thing with the file now, but because it's quite a low profile, chances are that the edges of the file will hit the fingerboard, and if I don't have the tape on it now, it's going to sort of mark the fingerboard a little bit. So I'm going to whiz down here and cover everything up, and then I'm going to cut a whole load of thin strips because obviously the frets get closer together, and to do this I'm going to need to use lots of different gauges of masking tape to achieve protection. Alright, so I'm just going to Mister, you're not welcome up on here. I'm going to have to put you off to one side. Put the guitar off to one side. Yes, mister. I know you want to come and say hello. Well, you can, but you're not getting anywhere near the guitar. So, while you're up here, Mr. Morris, while you're investigating, hello. I know your friends want to say hello. This is Mr. Morris, who didn't see me for a whole nearly 3 weeks while we were away. And it gave us a funny look when we got back. Not quite sure what it was, but it's like, who are you? Yes. He still likes his nose rub, so he hasn't forgotten. So, while he's being chummy, I'm going to just lay out the paper. And get ready to cut some thinner strips. Yes. So you're going to grow your mane back at Christmas, Morris, in the winter. You're going to get all furry and glorious again. Princely. There you go. He's had his little bit of being chummy. So you're right, Luke. You can. I can bring the guitar back. say, Morris has never taken his claws to a guitar. It's not something you've ever done, really. He's got a few places in the shed that he likes to scratch his claws, but it's always on the soft wood of the shed struts or something like that. And it's got a couple of spots that have now gone kind of shaggy with cat attention. Probably scratching post, really. Yeah. So did I miss this while I was away? I hear you ask. Not really. The funny thing is, when you go away to somewhere like that, and you take your little world in a suitcase, and then I get used to the simplicity of swimming, eating, swimming, reading, playing some guitar, swimming. It gets very simple, and it's very nice and simple. I really enjoyed actually having so little stuff. You know, it kind of reminded me a bit when I got back of just how much stuff we accumulate, and how much stuff we've got knocking around. And I secretly enjoyed having just one guitar, and just instead of thinking about, oh, which guitar shall I play, or which guitar do I need to play because I haven't played for a long time, or oh, should I get 1 or 2 amps downstairs or whatever. It was just dead simple. It was get your guitar, play it with the headphones on, stop playing it, do something else. So yeah, I like the simplicity of it. And it does make you want to come back and rethink. I guess distance always makes you come back and rethink, what am I doing? I didn't miss doing this sort of stuff, but at the same time I didn't dread the thought of coming back and doing it, and I knew I had Luke's guitars lined up for this weekend when I got back, and I was, you know, quite looking forward to getting stuck into them. So I think we went for 18 days, which is 2 weeks leaves you feeling it's not long enough, and I think 18 days was pretty much right. And the monsoon was hitting quite heavily. They say this time in the Maldives is the rainy season or the monsoon season. Everyone knows that, but there tends to be, the weather is very variable, but it tends to be, it rains for an hour or two, and then it suns for 2 or 3 hours, and so on. And that, on our 3rd week of being there, you know, after the 2 weeks, for about 4 or 5 days it just rained pretty much non-stop. So and that gets limiting then, because we're really only there for swimming on the reef. And once you can't really see much because it's been churned up, then it starts to be a bit like, okay, well, it's time to go home now. But it is a fantastic experience swimming on the reef, and I'm really pleased how much Claire loved doing it as well. We did it once before 6 years ago, so we've been kind of dreaming of going back and doing it again. And I was sort of half wondering whether it would live up to it or not, and it did. Got to swim with rays, eagle rays, black-tipped reef sharks, turtles, bluefin jacks, and just millions of reef coralfish, beautiful colours. And the nicest times we had were just hanging in a sort of cloud of fish that just let you be part of it, and didn't get out of your way, didn't need to run from you. They just accepted we were there and just kind of got on with it, really. It's amazing. And that was the best bit. So, would I go there again? had gone up, it cost us nearly double for 18 days what it had cost us in 2010 for 14 days. So the prices have been pushed up by the owners apparently. But as a result, the island was sort of less than 50% occupancy, and even at full, when it's full, it's only got 80 rooms, so it's hardly a crowded place. But you know, to have half of that empty because the owner's been too greedy with pricing, and it's the customers just decide, vote with their wallets, you know, can't afford that. And we were nearly in that position too, just you know, almost on the verge of not paying all that difference, but we did. And so I think, would I go again? I'd love to go and swim with the fish again, and I'd hope to, but I'm not sure if I'd pay the same price. So either they reduce the prices or something, or maybe we don't go again. But if I did go, I hope it would be sooner than 6 years. That was a bit of a long time to wait without a holiday at all. Still, it was very nice. One of my favourite moments is we went on a boat snorkeling trip, so it took us away from the island, off out into the open sea a bit, and went and chucked us on some other reefs that were just sunken atolls really. So it's like jumping into deep sea and then swimming towards a reef that you can see underwater, and then swimming up and down that reef. And it was fantastic. Okay. Now just a few bits on here to protect off the nice paintwork, you know, lacquer finish. Okay, so this is the bit for protecting finish, and some people have said to me in the past, God, you don't need to use that much masking tape. And I just think, well, yes you do if you want to be sure. And given that the masking tape doesn't cost that much, and you know, a customer's finish on the guitar is kind of priceless really, and it's a false economy to cover it completely. Okay, so here's the fun bit. Get the old pen out again, and remember we've flattened the frets to level them, and now it's time to reprofile them and turn them into nice arch shaped things again. And basically we do that by rounding off the flattened edges or the shoulders until it kind of cuts inwards towards the centre of the fret and leaves us with a nice curved fret again. And it's made simple by a tool, the fret crowning tool by Stumac. Expensive tool, but as I always say, well worth it. I'm going to use on the medium side. Well worth it for consistency and ease. Okay. And it doesn't take much pressure or effort. The aim is to just shave away until the black marker pen disappears and you're left with a thin little strip down the middle. And if you can get that, it means you've rounded off most of the fret, but you've left the very top of it untouched. And if you leave the very tops of all of them untouched, it means you've retained the relative level that we achieved earlier on with all our hard work, which is what we're obviously aiming to do. Oops, sometimes it's easy to miss. Now this process now also shows up some little dimples in the frets, which I chose to leave in there partly because they'll be smoothed out by the sanding process, although not 100%, and also because these are very low frets to begin with, and I don't want to sacrifice any more height just to clean up some frets that aren't really a problem they're just slightly grooved, but they'll smooth out anyway. So it's like all of this, it's a judgment call. You've got to kind of react to what you've got in front of you and decide what's possible. And it's never the same twice, and there's no absolute, which is partly why people who are dogmatic about what has to happen in what order and so on kind of get annoying, because you actually have to kind of make compromise judgment calls on what you've got. Sometimes you just can't get, let's say for example, you might not be able to get level because you can't afford the fret material, and you have to compromise and set the action a little bit higher than you'd want. It's not the end of the world, but it's just the way it is. It's either that or refret the guitar, and you know, your customer may not be wanting to spend 175 quid or whatever on a refret, which is understandable, especially if they didn't think they needed it to begin with. So okay, so now we've reprofiled the frets, and it's interesting to see just where the pattern of wear is, and it looks like there's a lot of grooves all the way around here. So that's I guess that's where Luke does most of his playing, or a lot of his playing. Okay, so leveled the frets, reprofiled them. The one that took most work was the 11th fret, to get that back into a nice shape, because that was the flattest of them all. Now they've all been rounded off. Now they're ready to be sanded into a nice smooth finish, and the sanding process will not only smooth it off, but it will take it right the way through to a playing shine. And once we've done that, then I can put everything back on and put the strings back on, and then get into intonating it. The nice thing about this is now the hard work of the actual precision part of the setup's done. Now it's from here on, it's polishing it out, putting the bits back on, and just making sure that the action is where we want it to be, and it will go back into the action we had before without any problems, and it will be totally reliable, and it will drop back into exactly where it was before once we reload it with strings. And that's the beauty of doing it this way around. It's totally dependable. There's no surprises, and we don't have to sort of preserve this. You know, I can take these off now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter where they're set. All these different things, I can just go back to where I want it to go, and know that it will drop back into, or it'll sit up and beg, if you like, into the setup that we had. And that is the nice thing about doing it this way around. Okay, so I'm putting the truss rod cover back on, because as far as I'm concerned, we've now, having done the fret leveling with the strings on, we've decided on the playing action that we want, which included the relief. So that's done. I'm not going to make an adjustment now unless it's absolutely necessary for some odd reason, but it shouldn't be. So that can go on at this point. Right, so all I do now, and this, I'm going to switch off while I do this, it'll take about half an hour. It's very boring, but I'm going to run through all of these grades of paper, starting with 600, 2 lots of 600, 2 of 8, 2 of 1000, 2 of 1200, and then through the micro mesh set until it's shined up and polished. And then I'll take all this paper off, give it another clean over, and then we'll replace the strings and go from there. Okay, so polished. Frets levelled, frets reprofiled, frets polished, and now ready to load up with some new strings and the stretching strings procedure, followed by the intonation. So here we go, hard work done, just a little bit more to do. Or to say the precision work is done. This is the payoff bit, the fun bit, where it comes together. So now, last time I broke the string, and I luckily have some more spare 10 top E's, which are 13s. Are they 13s? No, what are they? Sorry, the 10s, aren't they? Of course. Yeah, I had some spares. which came with my rotor sound, or is it right? Probably, can't remember now. Yeah. So if I break another one in the stretching process, then I'm covered. Otherwise it starts getting expensive. I'll just chuck those out of the way. Here it goes. Right, so if you can see, so here we go. Simple loading process. On, all the way through, pull it back a fret, wind it on. Held string over the loose string first time round, if you can get it. Go under please, thank you. And then as it comes round again, this time round, bring the loose string up in the air and stick the held string underneath, so it's a sort of self-locking thing. Now it's currently on the ground, so I need to set that up for starters. I'll just guess at that for a minute. I'll come back to the fine tuning in a second. So this is getting a set of 10s, and so as I predicted, the polishing process has taken out the fine little grooves that we were left with from Luke's playing wear over the years, or somebody's playing wear, but our fret polishing has, sanding and polishing has taken that away. So, and that's one of the judgment calls that you have to make if you do this, is do you carry on fret leveling until all of that has gone, or where's the point where you can stop, leaving a little bit of indentation left, knowing that the next part of the process, the polishing part, is actually capable of removing that last. And you have to sort of be able to sense how much physical work that polishing part can actually do. And I seem to be able to judge it quite nicely now, so it comes with experience. Okay, so we're heading there. Luckily, all the electronics work well on this guitar, as I said to Luke earlier on. Thankfully they do, because I really don't enjoy getting in at the electrics on a semi-acoustic. Although I suspect this one might be a bit simpler because it's smaller and more compact, but it's whichever way you look at it, it's a bit of a testing little process to pull things out through the F-holes. Some manufacturers have taken to putting electrics cover plates on the back of their guitars, so you can get to the electrics that way without having to go through. I can't remember who that was. It might have been an Ibanez I'm thinking of, or it might not, but it seems like a sensible thing. It changes the style a little bit, of course, but makes the technician's life a hell of a lot easier. The secret of doing this tuning is always to be able to keep the string you're working on under tension, no matter what you're doing. Hence all the funny finger gymnastics you see me doing. Just stops it from running the risk of flopping off the post or coming untangled, which would then leave you with a sort of weakened string, basically, which is something you don't want. So it's all about making sure the string is as good as it can be once it's on and playing. Okay. Right. Spares, cuts. And there we have it. The beastie is now, it's officially restrung. Now what I can do before I do much else, right, I'm just going to sort out the height, the action first of all, before I go any further. Okay, let's start with there and see how that goes. Right, so the secret is stretch your strings out. Now, I forgot to put any rubber packing into the thingy, but I've got a sneaky idea. It's not going to work on this guitar, but I reckon there's a solution with expanding foam to be used. I'm not sure how you do it without it becoming a complete and utter mess. If you could have a tiny little can with a tiny little nozzle, that'd be great, but you can't. So I'm stretching out a slack in the strings as much as I can before tuning it up at all, and then basically repeating this a few times. If you do several of these a day, I've done 2 today already, it will hurt your fingers after a while. And some people buy a device, plastic string stretcher. But I don't like that. Because you can't feel what's happening with the plastic. Okay, so we're tuned up to pitch. A lot of stretch in your string, and the more time you spend taking it out now, the better it's going to be. I think that action needs a slight tweak. Just put the special K glasses on. So we are just 1 point, fraction over 1.5 there. We are just a fraction under 1 there, so it's a little bit on the down small side. Okay, so let me just go ahead and stretch again. And we'll take a tune off the box again. So the more you can do, the better. That's as simple as that. Get it, stabilise the tuning before you take it out and play or jam or whatever. And have a much better time. Simple. Just hurting the fingers now. Lovely. It's nice, I like it. Okay, so next stage of the game is the intonation bit. Now this time I'm going to use the electronical thing. So we won't hear the note as I'm intonating it, but we will see it instead. Now I've got the strap, and one of the rubber fixers on the strap is about to come off, so let's have a look around. Which way does this go on? It goes on there, like that. That should go on like that. Sorry, let's get my head around this thing. And that goes back face on there. I won't put the rubber things on yet, but they are, one of them is partly split. Ooh. Let's see. Oh, I could do both. I could go through and out the amp, but that would be really high tech. So it's a good tuner. Let's try that. See what happens. We would need for that another lead. I've got one knocking around somewhere. Just don't know where it is. Spare leads, I know I've got one. Damn. They are sitting in here somewhere. How annoying. Okay, I'm going to have to try and find them another day. I've sort of forgotten what everything looks like, really. Okay, let's just do it visually. So the idea of intonating it is to ping the 12th fret and tune the guitar to the pinged harmonic on the 12th. And then fret the 12th. Perfect for a change. Fractionally flat. G is fractionally sharp. Okay. Let's get my thing. Now what I want to do to G is to push it backwards, which means going counterclockwise. Counterclockwise again on the G. Okay. Okay. Okay, the E and the B are sharp, so we'll go counterclockwise with both of those. Sharp. No, sorry, the opposite way. Duh. Yes, try counterclockwise, get my directions right. Depending on which angle I'm looking at it from. Clockwise, push the E back a bit further. Close. Lovely. Job done. Epiphone ES339. Beautiful little thing actually. There's only one note in the whole thing that would cause me to tweak the action just slightly. Let's see what we got again, check it. Yeah. Just an absolute tiniest of tweaks. I like this guitar, I want one. Well, I like it. Lovely, there we go. ES339 Epiphone. I want one now. In fact, I want to swap my 335 for one of those. I think that thing is beautiful, as Bernard Matthews may or may not have said. Blimey, I don't know what's happened to my camera stand anymore. It's wonky, but that is a lovely thing. Beautiful looking. I want one, want one, want one. I shall be on the lookout for that. Okay, thanks for hanging out with me. I might, in the moment of downtime, I might put some rubber into the. Oh, I wish I could make this thing work properly. Might put some rubber into the Tunematic Nightmare. Oh God, right, that's nearly straight-ish. Yeah, put some rubber into the Tunematic bridge and sort that rattling out. But just a small detail. But other than that, I love it. Beautiful sounding thing. Plays lovely. Okay.